Laroon stood at the front window of her star cruiser, staring into the endless stretch of stars. Her heart felt heavy. The stars hadn't changed, but something inside her had. She reached out, touching the cool glass, remembering a voice she hadn't heard in years. "You're different from the others," the human had once told her. "You don't just follow orders, you think." His name was Elias Rourke, a young human pilot, brash and kind, with strange eyes that saw through lies. They had met 5 years ago during a rare joint training mission between humans and the Galactic Union. Back then, Laroon didn't care much for humans. But Elias had changed that. He had made her laugh, question things, and for the first time dream beyond duty. But then he left. Or rather, the humans left. They pulled out of the Galactic Union without warning. Their systems went dark. Number contact. No explanation. Elias disappeared with them. Laroon had tried to reach him. Messages, signals, even official channels. But nothing came back. Time passed. The war fronts moved. Promotions came. But the silence from Earth never broke. Now, as a captain herself, she was leading a fleet into human border space because of a distress signal from an outpost. The same sector where Elias once trained. The thought of being near him again stirred old hopes and new fears. She turned from the window and sat at her desk. She pulled up a holomage from her private files, a picture of the old team. Humans! An alien standing side by side, smiling. Elias was in the middle, his hand raised in a peace sign. Laroon was next to him, almost smiling. She whispered, "Where are you, Elias?" She felt silly sometimes. He was probably back on Earth, living a normal life. Or maybe he didn't remember her at all. Maybe she meant nothing to him. The thought hurt more than she expected. Her communicator buzzed. "Captain Laroon, we've reached the distress coordinates. You're understood. Bring us to a halt. I'll be on the bridge." As she walked, she tried to focus on the mission, but her mind kept drifting back to that day when Elias told her, "One day, the galaxy will understand humans." But by then, it might be too late. She didn't understand it then. She thought he was just being dramatic. But now, standing on the edge of Terran space, surrounded by silence, she wondered, was he trying to warn her? On the bridge, her crew worked quietly. The stars outside looked peaceful. But everyone felt it. Something was wrong. "Any response?" "From the outpost?" she asked. "None, Captain. Just static. No signs of life. None." She sat in her command chair and stared into the darkness. Part of her hoped maybe, just maybe, this mission would bring her back to Elias, not just as a soldier, but as a friend? As someone who had been lost, like her. Suddenly a soft tone echoed. "Captain," the sensor officer said, eyes wide. Something just appeared, right in front of us. A massive shape was forming in space. Silent, dark, beautiful, and terrifying. Laroon stood slowly, her eyes locked on the ship ahead. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Sharp lines. No lights. Just the outline of a beast built to control fear. A name glowed faintly on its hull. TNS Saul's Wrath. The bridge went silent. Larowan's heart raced not from fear, but from something deeper. That name, that symbol, Elias. She whispered, and, though no voice answered, something inside her stirred. She didn't know if he was there. She didn't know if he even remembered her. But one thing was clear: humanity had not disappeared. They had been watching, preparing, waiting. And as the Union fleet froze in the shadow of the Terran warship, Laroon knew the truth. This was not the end. This was the beginning. A quiet hope. Lit in her chest, maybe this time she could reach him. Maybe this time the stars would bring them back together. She just had to try. The silence was deeper than space itself. Captain Laroon sat in her command chair, eyes fixed on the black warship in front of her. TNS Saul's Wrath hovered in the void like a shadow given form. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But its presence filled every heart on the bridge with quiet fear. Laroon wasn't afraid in the same way. She felt something different, like a voice from her past had returned. Just out of reach, she whispered. It has to be Elias. It feels like him. No one answered. Her crew was too stunned. The ship ahead was clearly human, but it was unlike any vessel the Galactic Union had ever seen. Union warships were large and shining, full of color and signals, but this one was silent, sleek, and powerful. It radiated control. "Send a standard hail," Laroon ordered. The communication officer nodded, hands trembling slightly. Signals sent. No reply. Laroon leaned forward. "Send a second message. Personal. Use encryption level 9. Add this message. If this is Captain Elias Rourke, this is Laroon. I'm here." The officer hesitated, but did as she was told. The bridge waited. 1 minute, 2. The warship didn't move. Then every screen on the bridge flickered. A voice came through. Calm, human, deep. "This is Captain Rourke of the TNS Saul's Wrath. You are in protected space. Identify yourselves." Laroon stood up, heart pounding. "This is Captain Laroon of the Galactic Union ship Vosari Dawn. We responded to a distress signal from a Union outpost near here." A long silence followed. Then Rourke spoke again. There was no real distress signal. It was a test. A warning. Laroon blinked. A warning for who? For the Union. For those who think Earth is asleep. "We watched your ships. We saw how quickly you came, how ready you were to fight. This is what you call peace." Laroon's hands clenched. "I didn't come here to fight, Elias." There was a pause. "I remember your voice," he said. "Laroon, you used to ask too many questions." She laughed softly, her throat tight. "I still do." He didn't respond right away. Then he said, "You came anyway. Even when you thought Earth was gone." "I hoped you weren't," she admitted, her voice low. "I missed you." The bridge was quiet. Her crew stared but said nothing. The moment was personal, delicate, too fragile to break. "I missed you too," Elias finally replied. "But it's not simple anymore. Things have changed." Earth changed. Laroon stepped closer to the screen. "So did I. But that doesn't mean we can't still talk. It doesn't mean we stop caring." The silence stretched again. Elias spoke more gently now. "I saw the Union experiments, Laroon, on humans, on prisoners. You need to understand why we disappeared." "I didn't know," she said, "but I want to understand now." Her voice trembled slightly, but she didn't hide it. Her emotions were raw, real. She had spent so long wondering if Elias even remembered her. Now he was here and still the same man who once believed in truth. "I'm not here to cover anything," she said. "I'm here to see for myself, and if something went wrong, we'll make it right." For the first time, Elias sounded uncertain. "You'd go against your own counsel? If they were wrong?" "Yes. Isn't that what you always admired about humans? That you didn't just follow orders?" There was a soft breath from the other end. It almost sounded like a smile. "You listened," he said. "I always did. I just didn't know how to reach you." Another long pause followed. But this time it felt warmer. Finally, Elias said, "We'll send over the black box data. Review it, then decide. But be careful, Laroon. Not everyone wants peace." "I know," she replied, "but I still do." The screens went dark. The warship slowly backed away but didn't vanish. It stayed close, watching. Laroon exhaled and sat back down. Her heart felt heavy, but also full. She had seen him, heard his voice. And even though the stars between them had grown wide and strange, they still understood each other. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she had hope, and that was a start. The stars outside shimmered quietly as Captain Laroon walked alone through the halls of her ship. Her crew worked silently around her. No one spoke unless needed. Something about seeing the human warships so still, so powerful had shaken them. All but Laroon's thoughts were far away. She kept thinking about Elias Rourke. His voice had stayed with her all night. His words were simple, but full of weight. "We'll send over the black box data. Review it, then decide." He had changed. There was steel in his voice now, less warmth. But deep down, she still felt the same man, the one who once gave her. A small charm from Earthen said, "This means protection. Keep it close." She still carried that charm. She pulled it from her uniform pocket, now a tiny silver disc, smooth and warm from her hand. It reminded her that once they had laughed together, once they had stood on the same side, but now everything was different. Elias was guarding something bigger than just a ship. He was guarding truth, and maybe he was guarding his heart too. She sat down in her quarters, opened the data file he sent, and watched. What she saw made her chest tighten. The Union outpost had been experimenting on captured Terran civilians. Humans, they were not soldiers. They were not spies. They were innocent. Laroon covered her mouth with her hand. "No," she whispered. Why didn't I know? It felt like a crack ran through everything she believed in. Her orders had said the outpost was for scientific study. No one said anything about prisoners. No one said anything about testing human biology. Her mind was spinning. Elias had known. He'd seen it, and he thought she was part of it. That hurt. She leaned back and stared at the ceiling. The stars beyond felt farther than ever. Elias hadn't said it, but she could tell he didn't trust her fully. Not yet. And why would he? She was wearing the uniform of those who had betrayed his people. She wanted to send him another message, wanted to say she was sorry, that she didn't know that she wanted to fix it. But every message she wrote felt wrong. Too formal, too weak, too late. How do you reconnect with someone who moved far away, not just in space, but in spirit? She stared at the blinking cursor in the message console for a long time. Then she thought back to something Elias once told her when they stood, watching a meteor shower on a quiet night. If there's no road between people, he said, build one. That's what humans did, he told her. They built bridges, even when no one believed they could. She stood up, heart pounding. She walked to the bridge and gave an order. Send this to the Sol's Wrath, she said. Message begins. I saw the truth. I didn't know, but I do. Now, I will speak with the council. I will not stay silent. If there's no road between us, I will build one. This is my promise. End message. Her crew looked confused, some worried. Others stared at her with awe. She was taking a risk, but it was time to take one. Humans taught her something long ago. Humanity doesn't run from truth. It faces it. And if she was going to be part of something better, she had to do the same. Later that night, she received a reply. Just one line. I believe you, it wasn't much. But to Laroon, it felt like sunrise after a long winter. Captain Laroon sat quietly in the council chamber, her uniform neat, but her heart heavy. Around her, the highest leaders of the Galactic Union whispered and argued. Some called her naive. Others said she was a traitor for trusting the humans. But Laroon stood firm. She knew what she had seen. She knew the truth about the outpost. She believed in what Elias Rourke had said. We don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. Her message had reached him. The simple words, I will build a road, had broken through the silence between them. And that gave her hope. Now, as she faced the council, she knew she had to fight not just for peace, but for a chance to reconnect with the humans and maybe with Elias himself, one elder sneered. Captain Laroon, the humans vanished for a reason. They are weak, disorganized. We cannot trust them. Laroon's eyes did not waver. They are stronger than we realize. It's not because of their weapons, but because of their will. Because they never give up on each other. Because when they lose something, they fight harder to get it back. Another council member spoke coldly. And what of the experiments at the outpost? How do you explain that? Laroon's voice was steady. He did not know. But I promise to investigate and bring those responsible to justice. Humanity demands the same from their own. She paused and looked out the window, imagining the black warship still watching nearby. The Sol's Wrath was a symbol not of war, but of warning. A warning that the galaxy must change, the council murmured. Some were skeptical, some curious. But Laroon didn't care about their doubts. What mattered was this. She was the bridge. She was the hope. After the council meeting, she returned to her ship. The crew greeted her with quiet respect. They had seen her courage. They knew the path ahead would be hard. Laroon sat at the communication console and sent a message to Elias. Council is divided, but I am not alone. I fight for peace, for understanding.
Nice. For you?
I will for die for I my room sci for I man for I am fry my from I am I am fry for knife I for this I sci-fi and sci-fi. It was brief, but it warmed her heart. Days passed. Data arrived from the black boxes. The evidence was clear. The Union leadership could no longer deny the truth. Slowly, alliances shifted. A small delegation was sent to meet the Sol's wrath. Laroon was part of it when she stepped onto the human ship. The silence between her and Elias felt heavy but different. They were both changed. Older, wiser, she reached out her hand, he took it. Neither spoke at first. Then Elias said quietly, "You kept your promise." Laroon smiled. "So did you." In that moment, distance began to fade. She realized that even if they had moved, apart across space and time, they could find their way back. Because that was what humans did. They never gave up on each other, and neither would she. Captain Laroon stood on the deck of her ship, watching the stars blur past as the fleet moved slowly toward Terran space. The meeting with Elias had changed everything inside her. She felt closer to him now, even though he was still far away in many ways. But the path to peace was not easy. The Galactic Union was not ready to accept humans back so simply. Many leaders still feared Earth. They whispered behind closed doors, calling humans dangerous, unpredictable. Some captains wanted to attack Sol's wrath to prove their strength. Others wanted to ignore it and pretend nothing had changed. Laroon's heart ached. She remembered how distant she had felt when Elias left. How she had wished to reach him, but did not know how. She faced the same distance not between two people, but between entire worlds. The fleet's admiral called a meeting. "Captain Laroon," he said sternly, "the council demands we show strength. The Sol's wrath is a threat. Do you agree?" Laroon looked around the room. Faces full of fear and anger stared back. "No," she said firmly. "We have seen their power. But they do not seek war. They protect their own. We must listen. We must learn." A murmur rose in the room. Some nodded. Others shook their heads. One officer said, "But what if they attack first? Should we not be ready?" Laroon met his gaze. "If we respond with fear and weapons, we make enemies. But if we respond with respect and truth, we make friends." Took a deep breath. "I want peace. I want the galaxy to be stronger because we work together, not because we fight." The room was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, some began to agree. Laroon felt a small spark of hope. Later, alone in her quarters, she looked at the silver charm Elias had given her years ago. It reminded her of the promise she made too. Build a road where none existed. She sent a message to Elias. "The fleet is listening. They want peace too."
Why do why I never why I want to what I why want why would I
Minutes later, a reply came. We'll be ready, together. But peace was fragile. Not everyone wanted it. On the bridge, alarms suddenly rang. Captain, unknown ships approaching fast. A crew member shouted. Laruin's heart pounded. The fleet tensed. But it wasn't an attack. The approaching ships slowed, then formed ranks. Beside the Union fleet, they were human ships, not the Sol's Wrath. More, many more. Their leaders hailed the fleet. We come in peace, their voice said calmly. But we are prepared to defend what we protect. Laroon felt tears well in her eyes. The distance was closing. The fear was fading. The galaxy was changing. The humans did not come to conquer. They came to protect, and to remind everyone that when humans fight for hope, for friendship, for family, they fight with a power beyond weapons, A power born from heart. The fleet's fear turned to awe. Whispers began. The humans are not what we thought. And somewhere deep inside Laroon, the hope she carried grew brighter. She thought of Elias. She thought of the charm in her pocket. And she knew this was only the beginning. Captain Laroon stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the stars glow softly beyond the window. The tension from the past weeks had slowly melted into something new, a fragile peace. The once distant humans were no longer shadows at the edge of the galaxy. They had shown their strength and their heart. But Laroon still felt something missing. She thought about Elias. How could she reach him now? After years of silence, after battles and betrayals, one evening, alone in her quarters, Laroon sat with the silver charm he gave her. It felt warm in her hand, like a small piece of hope she could hold on to. She closed her eyes and whispered, Elias, I wish we could start again. The truth was, she still felt far from him. Not just across space, but across time and choices. She wanted to say so much, sorry. Thank you, I remember you, but words were hard. How do you rebuild a bridge when the distance feels endless? Then her communicator beeped softly, a message. From Earth Laroon, it said, meet me on the observation deck. We need to talk. Her heart skipped. She hurried there and found Elias waiting. Looking older, but still strong. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Elias said, you kept your promise. You fought for peace. Laroon smiled, tears in her eyes. Tried. I'm still trying. He looked at the stars and said, we humans are slow to trust, but when we do, we never let go. She nodded. I understand now. It's the same with me. They talked for hours, sharing stories, regrets. Hopes though they had been apart, their bond was still alive, quiet but unbroken. Outside, the galaxy was changing fast. The news of Sol's wrath and its silent power spread across star systems. Tales grew of humans who fought not to conquer, but to protect their own, who faced impossible odds with hope and courage. Many feared them. Many admired them, and many, like Laroon, learned that humans were not just warriors. They were survivors, with a fierce love for life and connection. Laroon stood beside Elias on the observation deck one night, watching a new fleet of Terran. Ships joining the Galactic Union. It was a beginning, not perfect, but real. She felt the distance between them shrink, not because they were close in space, but because they chose to be close in heart. I never thought I'd see this day, Elias said softly. Neither did I, Laroon replied, but hope brought us here. He smiled. That's the power of humanity. She looked up at the stars and whispered, and the power of friendship. As the fleet sailed forward, Laroon knew their story was just starting. Distance could never erase what mattered most, because humans and those who believed in them never gave up on each other, and in the darkness of space, that hope shone brighter than any star.